Welcome back to the Sustainably Tidy podcast, where I help you get organized in a way that is sustainable for both you and the planet. On today's episode, we are starting off with our usual sustainable swap. And for anyone who has not heard about sustainable swaps yet on this podcast, sustainable swaps are easy, manageable, everyday items that we can swap in to our everyday lives to help us live a more sustainable one. Today's sustainable swap, compostable trash bags. Now, trash bags are not sexy and glamorous, but they are things that we all use probably at least once a week. We take out the trash. And usually the trash bags we use are made of plastic. Very, very long story short, plastic can take a long time to break down in a landfill. So instead of a plastic trash bag, consider finding a biodegradable and or compostable trash bag. Long story short for that, these trash bags will break down more easily in a landfill. I purchased these trash bags from Kroger. I also know that Whole Foods sells biodegradable or compostable trash bags as well. I personally prefer to be able to pick things up when I'm doing my grocery shopping instead of having to order stuff online and wait, but there are plenty of biodegradable or compostable trash bags online that you could order as well. I will say not all biodegradable or compostable trash bags are made equal. I have purchased and tried a number of different brands. Some of them don't hold your trash very well. Some of them start to get smelly and leaky, and it's just we don't want that. These compostable trash bags from Kroger I have found to work very well. They do not get holes easily. The only downside to these is really that they don't have the plastic ties at the top, but that's good because less plastic. But a lot of us, including me, have been accustomed to the plastic ties at the top that make it easy to pull it out of your trash bag. So it does require a little bit more work to pull it out the trash and tie it up to then take it out. But overall, I think it's a worthwhile swap. So try it out. Let me know what you think and stay tuned for more sustainable swaps. Now, for today's episode, I am going to be answering a few listener questions. I appreciate people sending in questions. Please continue to do so. And today's episode is dedicated solely to answering a few of the questions that have come in from you guys. The first question I have is from Taylor Manson, who asked, what do you do to get organized when you are burned out, stressed, or busy? I love this question because it is super relevant for most, if not all of us. It's hard to stay organized when you have a lot going on and you don't really have the mental capacity to deal with anything besides whatever it is on your mind. Your mind and your mental space is definitely impacted by your physical space. A lot of you probably have noticed that, and that may be why you're listening to this podcast, is because you've noticed, like, if your space is really cluttered and really busy and a lot going on, it clouds your mental space. So it's a very worthwhile endeavor to make sure that you have some tools when you are feeling burned out, feeling busy, feeling stressed for staying organized. So here they are. The first is be preventative. When you are not feeling busy or really stressed or burned out, go ahead and declutter. Get yourself organized, because when you are busy, when you are burned out, when you are stressed, you don't want to have to think about trying to create an organization system for yourself in your home. You want to just be able to focus on maintaining the organization that you already have. So, number one tip is be preventative. During a time when you're not feeling stressed, go ahead and do the work to get organized. Take a listen to episode number 4 when I walk through the steps and process of getting organized to help you do that now. Now, let's just say the train has already left the station. You are now in a place where you are feeling unorganized and you're feeling stressed and burned out. The first thing I would recommend is do not buy new stuff. You really want to minimize new items coming into your home because you may not have the capacity to figure out what home this new item or new items really belong in. You may need to shift some items in your home to make space for those new items. And that can be a lot of decision making that you just don't have the ability to do right now because you're stressed. The second tip is remember that perfection is the enemy of progress in this situation. When you are feeling stressed, you don't have the time or the mental energy to create this perfect, serene oasis of organization in your home. And that's okay. What you can do and what will make a difference is setting aside a small block of time every day to organize your space as much as you can. So when I'm feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, I will say, okay, I don't have 5 hours to get my space together. I have 15 minutes today. Usually I'll have like a really challenging week or something where I'm feeling stressed. So I'll just commit to like this week, I'm going to spend 15 minutes every night doing as much organizing as I can, as much tidying up as I can. Whatever is able to get done in that 15 minutes, great. Whatever we can't get done, we're going to try to get done tomorrow or the next day or the next day. But just 15 minutes of your day spent tidying up your space. It can really go a long way, and you can do a lot more in 15 minutes than you may think. I had no idea I could unload my dishwasher in 3 minutes, for example. And when my dishwasher is now unloaded, now I can load everything into the dishwasher as it becomes dirty to avoid having things in my sink pile up. So like that was a big breakthrough for me to be like, okay, let's just make sure our dishwasher is unloaded so that we can get stuff into the dishwasher as it becomes dirty so that I'm not having like a bunch of dishes pile up in the sink when I'm feeling overwhelmed and I don't have the time to sit and do a bunch of dishes at the end of the week. Even in our busiest, most stressed times, everyone can usually find 15 minutes. Take 15, morning or night, go ahead and do as much organizing as you can. Then I recommend setting a date to when you are really going to get your space completely organized. I will usually have a really busy week and I just am like, okay, I need to get to Saturday. So I'll do my 15 minutes every day in the evening or in the morning of organizing my space as much as I can. And then on Saturday, I will go ahead and set aside a few hours to really going through my entire space, doing a deep clean, getting my space organized, doing a full-blown get myself together. So set a date to work toward, because I have also found that if you're just doing the 15 minutes every day, it can feel like, okay, I'm making progress, but I'm not at the place that I want to be, and that can feel annoying and overwhelming too. So if you have a date in your mind that you know, like, okay, after Saturday, we're going to have it all together. That's been really helpful for me too during my like more busy weeks. Next, I recommend focusing on maintaining the organization that you do have in your home. So when you have dirty clothes at the end of your day, immediately put them in the hamper. When you have dirty dishes, immediately load them into the dishwasher. When you finish using your blanket, immediately fold it up and put it on the couch or wherever it came from. Doing these little tasks and putting things away immediately when you're done with using them helps to minimize the additional clutter and disorganization that builds up. So at least you're not adding to your problem. It may seem like a small thing, but it takes 2 seconds to do, and it really goes a long way, because when you don't do those things, it just builds up in your space and you have more disorganization and clutter. Finally, I'd recommend considering hiring a home organizer. Obviously, I'm a home organizer. I believe in the power of hiring someone to organize your home. But seriously, a lot of times my clients call me when they have either A, reached the end of themselves and have tried to organize their space and just haven't had much success with it, or B, they just don't have the time. And 3 years ago, they said they wanted to get their space organized, and 3 years later, the space looks the exact same, if not worse, and they're like, How did I get here? It's because I didn't make the time. I just didn't have the time to get my space organized. So having a home organizer come in is a good way to immediately get your space together because we will come in and just do it. It obviously costs money, so I know that's not always an option for everyone, but consider hiring a home organizer to get your space organized when you are feeling stressed or just don't have the capacity to organize your space. Because if we come in and do it, then you can really just focus in on maintaining your space versus creating organization for yourself. So those are some quick tips on what to do when you are feeling stressed, burned out, busy, trying to get yourself organized. Let me know if those help or if you have any questions on those. The second question I received that I'm going to talk about today is from one of my lovely clients who asked, how can I reduce my plastic consumption? And I love this question as well because plastic is everywhere. It is so prevalent. You actually have to work at consuming less plastic. So I love this question, and it's something that I have definitely struggled with as well. How can I reduce my plastic consumption? The number one thing that you can do that I will probably say on this podcast every episode until I'm blue in the face is buy less stuff. Because plastic is so prevalent in the packaging and in products themselves, simply by buying less stuff, you are probably also going to be buying less plastic. Every item that you buy may not have plastic in it or packaged in plastic, but a lot of items are and do. So buying less stuff can be a win-win. But I know that we do have to buy stuff sometimes. There's a few different things that I've done that have helped me a lot with reducing my plastic footprint. The first is paying really close attention to packaging. There are a lot of items that you buy at the grocery store or online that are packaged in plastic. You have a little less control, obviously, over it when you're buying something online that's being shipped to you. But I've really taken a lot of care in paying attention to the items I'm buying in stores and how they are packaged. I won't buy certain items because they are packaged in plastic. And fortunately, at a lot of major regular grocery stores, you can usually find alternative items that are packaged without using plastic. Another example of this that you might not even be thinking about is the produce that you can purchase in plastic bags. So the pre-washed lettuce, the pre-washed or pre-sliced veggies, those usually come in plastic packaging. I'd recommend simply buying this item loose. Buy the fresh head of lettuce. When you get home, wash it, chop it up, and then throw it in your fridge. So that's a really simple way to reduce your plastic consumption, is buying items that are not packaged in plastic. Along those same lines, making sustainable swaps is a great way to reduce your plastic usage as well. You've heard on this episode, and if you've been tuning in, you've heard on other episodes as well, that I start these episodes with a sustainable swap. And the reason is because it can be a lot easier than you think to swap in different everyday items for items you already use that are more sustainable alternatives that will serve the same purpose. So I thought I'd share a few sustainable swaps that have significantly reduced my plastic consumption. The first, which I didn't think I would need to share, but after I had a few conversations over the past couple weeks with people, I realized that I probably should share it, is I don't use plastic water bottles. I am from Detroit, so up there we have great water. I understand that in every other place that I've lived, basically, that is not the case. So drinking water straight out the faucet may not be an option for you. So what I've noticed is that a lot of times people are purchasing bottled water and putting it in their fridge, and that is how they drink their water. I get it. It's super convenient to do that, but that is a lot of plastic consumption in the form of water bottles. I highly recommend a reusable water bottle. I also highly recommend purchasing a filter that you can simply pour water in from the tap, fill it up, throw it in your fridge, it gets cold, it filters the water, and then you can pour the water from that filtered pitcher into a regular drinking cup. I know for some of you that might feel very simple, but like I said, I've had a few conversations over the past few weeks that were like, okay, we should talk about this because I don't know that people always realize how much plastic consumption that's creating. And that's okay. But if you are someone who purchases a lot of water bottles for your regular household use, you could save a lot of money by using a filtered water pitcher. I've been using a Brita water pitcher for a few years now. It works great. You do have to buy replacement filters, but I have the one where you only have to replace it every 6 months. It's a long-lasting filter, so you can even minimize the amount of filters you have to buy every year. But I would strongly consider doing that over purchasing water bottles. If you do come from a big family or you have a lot of people in your house, they have the huge filtered water pitchers that you can also like have sitting in your fridge. So that could also be an option if the pitchers are too small. Another swap is that I do not buy Tupperware. I order takeout from time to time, and takeout usually comes in a plastic container. And so instead of throwing that plastic container away when I'm done with it, I will reuse it as Tupperware. So the reason that this reduces plastic is, one, you're repurposing and reusing plastic that has already been introduced into your home. The other way that this reduces plastic is because you probably know you lose Tupperware. You lose the tops or you lose the actual Tupperware itself, but like Tupperware is like infamously always getting lost. So you probably end up purchasing more Tupperware when you start to run out or you lose too many lids. I don't have that issue anymore because I buy takeout at a faster cadence than which I lose my Tupperware pieces. So I don't end up buying new Tupperware. And as we know, usually Tupperware is plastic. You can buy non-plastic Tupperware, but again, in the interest of buying less stuff and creating less of a footprint on the environment, repurposing and reusing is always a better option than purchasing new. So repurpose that plastic Tupperware. The last sustainable swap that I will share that has drastically reduced my plastic consumption is Ziploc baggies. I actually just don't buy them. The little plastic baggies that you usually use for sandwiches or what have you, I don't buy plastic baggies anymore. And what I have found to be very effective for myself is simply just like stopping buying whatever the plastic item is that I want to stop buying, rather than like trying to wean myself off of it. So for example, with the Ziploc baggies, I stopped buying the Ziplocs. And at first I was like, what do I do? And I quickly figured out I can literally just use my repurposed Tupperware to package or transport pretty much anything I was using the Ziploc baggies for. Now, it's not always as aesthetically appealing as a Ziploc baggie, but it literally does the job. And I don't have to buy Ziploc baggies. I save money. I'm not using Ziploc baggies. I'm not using as much plastic, and I am repurposing something that I already own, which is always a good idea from a sustainability perspective. So think about the items that you regularly purchase that are comprised of plastic that you might think that you have no other alternative for. Just try going cold turkey and cut them out. Maybe not all at the same time, but maybe like one at a time. And I think you'll find that you can repurpose and use things that you already own to serve the same purpose. Plastic has been introduced as a form of convenience, and somewhat it's for sanitary purposes. Plastic can be a great way of helping create barriers for germs and different things like that. But plastic has been, in my opinion, very overused. And so we are kind of pushed or taught that certain things are normal and we need them in our homes that we simply don't. I think you'll find that you can get along just fine without a lot of our common plastic household items. So those are a few of the sustainable swaps that have helped me in reducing plastic in my own home. Let me know what sustainable swaps you have made that are working for you in the comments. Would love to hear about them. And please ask more questions. I will continue to do episodes where I just go into more detail around a listener question. So please send them in, either drop them on my Instagram, DM me, drop them on the YouTube channel, whatever works best for you. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week on the Sustainably Tidy podcast.